And now back to Just Energy Radio with Dr. Rita Louise.
Hello and welcome back to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for staying tuned to the second hour of the show. Just Energy Radio is brought to you by SoulHealer.com, where you can find out about all the services I offer, including medical intuition evaluations, clairvoyant readings, or energy healing. All of these services are available from the comfort of your own home, over the phone, Skype, or email. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics. That's AppliedEnergeticsInstitute.com. And please do check out the Just Energy Radio website. That's www.justenergyradio.com, and sign up for our weekly newsletter that will keep you informed of all of our upcoming guests. So we've been talking with Keith Blanchard about his new movie, What Do You Love? Webpage is whatdoyoulovethemovie.com. His other web pages are thedivineprinciple.us and the Yano Center of Light. So let's get Keith back on the air and continue our interesting conversation. Hey, Keith, you there?
Hi, Dr. Rita. If I may, that web address is dowhatyoulovethemovie.com.
Didn't I say that?
You said, what do you love? But it's
a dyslexic thing. I'm sorry.
It's semantic. It's no biggie.
No, it's a dyslexic thing. Trust me. Anyway, it strikes again.
Earlier, right before the radio break, you had mentioned about someone who has a passion, who it may not be what people around them will approve of. Well, I think that's the heaven on earth prophecy, because I think everyone is entitled to do what they love without impinging upon someone else's life. I think everybody has their own fire. I think everybody has their own canvas and wants to paint their life as they wish, provided you just don't go around using a brush and spilling paint on everybody else's canvas. I think you should be left alone and enjoy the life that you were born to live.
Like yourself and myself, what if you find yourself drawn to multiple things, multiple passions, and you ask the question, well, what should I be doing with my life? And you get this barrage of inspiration. Is there any way to, I know it happens to me, but is there any way to prioritize or kind of sort through a list of potential things that you might do?
Yeah, for me, I can use my life as an example. I'm a writer, an author. I play music for a living. I have a radio show. I have a son. So I'm pretty fragmented. I'm pretty good at multitasking, actually. But my priority, of course, the sun, heat, and sky, is first. But other than my son, looking at what I want to do with my life passionately, I found the biggest one, which is doing public presentations, being an author, and reaching people. That is my passion. Music would be second. There's a lot of smaller things that I do, but they're all under the first priority umbrella. I don't fragment myself in such a way that I dilute all the energy that I'm trying to use to at least get a step up in life, to step up into my blissful realm. Because if you dilute yourself in such a way, you're just going to tax yourself and overwhelm yourself in such a way that you won't have the freedom. But if you could find that one drive, that one passion that you can use to catapult or launch yourself into that realm, then you have the freedom, because of your success, to be able to expand and expound upon your passion.
And I'm going to ask the question again, because we're kind of reaching out to people that really haven't found their passion yet. You found your passion. You found your passion early on. But let's say I'm working a regular 9-to-5 job, and I can't hardly get out of bed in the morning, and I know I need to change, and I don't really know what to do. So I ask the question, well, if money weren't the object, what would I be doing, or what could I be doing? And I get 10 different things. Is there some way that you can kind of go inside and figure out which one is the first one, or maybe the best one, or the one you should work on now? I mean, is there some way to kind of sort through different things that might be totally, well, I really want to do gardening, but then again, I want to do this, and, it can be challenging.
Well, one is ask yourself, what is my motivation for idea A? What is my motivation? And write it down. Be honest with yourself. What do I see? What do I foresee as any drawbacks? What do I see as the pros? And how long would it take me to master this craft, if it's a craft at all? And you play, let's say, 4 things. You have 4 or 5 things that you're bouncing around inside. You're juggling around and see how they feel. I would say that would be one way. The other way would be to test drive them all. Test drive them. Put on the outfit. Wear the garb. Do the dance. Pretend. Go get a job doing that for a month. Though that you may not be at the level of the totem pole that you want to be if you brought that idea to its maximum. But test drive it. Don't just sit there and just chew on the idea and chew on the idea and chew on the idea like a piece of gum, because after a while the gum gets flavorless and you get lost in the mix, and then therefore you're back in bed all day again, depressed and not really liking your life too much. Passion for me is not necessarily something that you are doing. Yes, it may take that form. Passion is an attitude. Passion is your energy. Passion is your disposition. Passion is the energy that runs through your body simply by being alive.
When you're following your passion, are you always doing what you want to do while you are following that passion path?
No.
And I can give an example.
Honestly,
okay, good.
Go ahead.
You got where I was going.
Yes, that would be a no for me. But your attitude and your perception and how you're seeing things changes. Who's going to be the garbage man if we all live our passion? Well, I guess that's a really easy answer for me. If I'm living my passion truly and I'm blissful, taking care of my own garbage is really not an issue for me. So if living my passion, yes, I have to sit down and get on the computer and make those phone contacts. I have to contact Dr. Rita to be on her show, which is a joy for me. Others aren't. But it's all under the umbrella of living your passion. So it's a total different way of seeing things, seeing the chores, so to speak, that you have to do to stay in your passion. They may not be as fun as the other things about living your passion, but you're still living your passion, and that gives you the comfort and the ease of doing those things that you may not want to do, but feel that you have to do to continue moving forward.
Yeah, like paying bills.
Yeah, you got a nice chunk of money. You're sitting on a big nest egg, and you've done that by living your passion. But the bills have to be paid. And, of course, you need lights on to use the electricity for your computer to make those contacts, to get on those radio shows, to do those TV shows, so forth and so on.
And hang out with me.
And hang out with you, yeah. I really wish we could have made that streaming video cam work, but we'll save that for next time.
No, because we would just be laughing the entire time.
Making faces at each other.
Making faces at each other. It's like, I'm not weird. Lipping it. I'm not weird. You're weird. Not me. So.
And I want to say to your listening audience, I have not read, I know this is not your interview, I have not read your book yet, the new one, but that cover, I'm telling you, is one of the most amazing book covers I have ever seen. Really.
What's the Dark Angels
I can't
book?
wait to get a copy from you. Yes.
So for people that are wondering what you're talking about, the last book, although not my new book, because it hasn't come out yet, which is called Dark Angels, Ghost Spirits and Attached Entities, or an Insider's Guide to Ghost Spirits and Attached Entities. And you can find the book on soulhealer.com under books and CDs. But the cover is just, it's a white cover, and it just kind of has a face on it. It's not a silhouette. It's a face, and it just barely peeks through the white of the cover, except it has these bright blue eyes, green eyes. Green.
Yeah, there's no
green.
definition in the face. All you see is the lips, the nose, and the eyes. And your mind fills in the face. It's very ghostly, it's very haunting, but yet it's very attractive. It's very alluring. So I'm excited for you to read this book.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about that this morning. You know, when we were designing that book, it was very important to not have it be dark, but spooky. Spooky is one thing. Dark is different. You know, didn't want dark. Didn't want, like some gory, negative. I didn't want negative energy on it. I mean, that was the biggest thing. I didn't want to repel people with a negative image that, if they picked it up, unless you're into, gore and, Friday the 13th movies, you wouldn't be interested in. And it came from a very feeling place of, all right, that feels spooky, but not scary. Okay, unless it's sitting on the bookshelf at night, and it just catches the light the right way.
Right.
But, okay. What kind of things knock us out of the flow?
Fear, doubt, self-judgment, judging others, just being afraid. Any of the things I name under that would be fear-based, of course. Doubt, I don't deserve, I need to be punished, depending on your background. That is true for a lot of people in Catholicism. I was Catholic, so I know that dynamic very well. And, of course, guilt always looks for punishment. You break the lamp, you will be punished. And, though we are older now, anytime you break something, even if it's yours and no one's around, that engram fires off and says, it's time to be punished. And so you go out and help someone in the garden, you pick up a power tool and you cut your finger off, or you break your arm, or get a fender bender. And I've seen this for myself throughout my entire life, that when I go through these periods of harboring self-guilt, that something says, well, hello, remember me? And so I actually somehow, on some level, go out of my way to validate myself that I need to be punished. And so I think anything fear-based, self-judgment, doubt, will definitely kick you not only out of the vortex, but it'll even push you out of the strength of the event horizon.
I think your comment was very interesting. So when I'm experiencing guilt and I feel like I need to be punished, I send that energy out and I create that in my life.
Yes. And, even for a lot of people, and this is not a judgment, this is truly an observation, and from doing the spiritual work that I've done for many, many years, and fortunate enough to have the levels of spiritual experiences that I've had, from my experience, how energy plays out. When people come from a certain background of fundamentalism or a certain dogmatic approach, they believe in devil, fear, hell, punishment. Now, you take someone like myself, or many of you out there, I'm absolutely sure of it, who have been pursuing a higher path their whole life. When your life is over and done, and you get to the other side, the first thing you see is this light source or a higher reality. First thing we are going to do is run to it, because that's what we've been pursuing our whole life. But someone from another background who believes in guilt, punishment, evil, devil, I'm bad, pain is suffering, suffering is death, and death is the end, and then devil. When they die now and they see this light source or the reality that could be there for them, they will not let themselves do it because they fear that they will be condemned and thrown into a pit of fire. And so they fall into this spiritual fetal position of self-created hell. It's kind of like the dog scenario. It happens in the moment that we are afraid. And so I forgot where we were going with the question, but I see how fear and people who believe in punishment can play itself out. And when we get to the other side, where there is no physicality, they actually believe in this place of torment. Now, there is the lower astral plane that will administer the punishment a person feels they are due until they can shake, wake, and take themselves out of such an experience, all self-created.
See, I just figure, since I've been told so much, that I'm just going to be burning in hell anyway. But I figure if I'm going to be going there based on the work that I've done, I mean, not being big-headed about it or anything, there are going to be so many of my friends and my family members hanging out there that, no big deal.
We'd be living a different kind of passion. Yeah, might as well. I mean, if you have that kind of mindset that, there's no way to win, why not enjoy yourself from the time you're here and to the hilt and, take advantage of other people? I mean, of course, that's the mindset. But when I think that when people begin to integrate, not only understand and comprehend, but integrate and become practitioners and understand that everything you do, everything, not only now, but the choices you make now affect your futures with or without your present body, it kind of puts you in a position to say, not only do I need to get my life together so this don't continue to repeat itself in a bad cycle, it puts you in check. That's the cosmic law. It makes you want to stop and take responsibility from hurting other people, because you know that if you slap somebody, they're going to slap you back. And then you can take that to any level now in a future experience. You kill someone, you may go to jail, but that does not necessarily mean that you resolve the karmic energy. So in another life, you will come back only to have that experience so you can be born into another life to go, I fully understand what it is that I have done. That's called enlightenment. So my path, and I'm sure many out there, is to become enlightened now versus have to deal with the consequences of unconscious and stupid creation.
I want to shift topics here because I'm looking at the clock and I have a couple, maybe a little more practical areas I want to go into. So the first question is, can you live your passion and also have a day job?
Yeah, it may take your day job for you to launch yourself into the realm of your passion, absolutely. Because you may need the funds. You may not. I was fortunate. When I was a child, I started to master my craft as a musician. And so I did all the work previously. If your passion requires such a thing to develop your skills in such a way, then you would want to keep your day job. But by all means, I am not saying that there is a light switch inside of you that you can flip. And I can't tell you what it is and where it is, but I can tell you it does exist. That if you can find it and you can flip it, things will change for you literally in a moment's notice. And you can live your passion that way. But for most people, it can be the practical way, which is, I'm taking some of this money and I'm putting this much of my paycheck, which I used to do, to go gamble at a casino or go fishing or bowling, which is my hobby, that you're just going to start putting this away now so you can make that transition in a very seamless way. I think that would probably hold true for most people. So I would say my answer is absolutely yes. By no means am I telling you to quit your job and just jump off the cliff. That's your choice. But there are people who jump off that cliff with absolute faith, and they do it nicely. And you may be a person who wants to jump off the cliff, but you can still use a glider. You can still fly. You may need an apparatus, some training wheels, but still jump into your passion.
Well, and I'm just asking that question because there are people who want to live their passion, but they have this, on or off mentality. It's like, well, I can't live my passion because I have a day job, but they can't afford to follow their passion because they don't have any money. And so, and it just stops them in their tracks. There's not a belief that I can do it part-time or at night or on the weekends to get into the flow of what their passion is. It's an either or thing.
I agree, and that is the challenge right there. You said it so perfectly. It's a belief, and your belief in how fast this will or will not manifest for you is either going to work in your favor or it will not. Belief is a great catalyst to launch you into knowing, but belief can be a crutch for laziness. If you find yourself living in belief, let me share with you that whatever you believe, guess what? You are right. So you have to look at yourself. Yes, I would love to do this, and I want to do it now. And so if that is truly your drive, stay with it. Stay with wanting it now. Stay with wanting it now, all the while that you monitoring what's happening inside and using the outside to express to you the dynamic of the energy that's moving, the energy that's beginning to solidify in your life. And when you use this dynamic, this extreme pole of inner to outer, as a gauge, a barometer to see what's happening, you'll know where you stand. Therefore, you can listen to more Dr. Rita, listen to more Keith Blanchard, listen to more Abraham Hicks, whatever is your way of doing things. But it is all about you believing in yourself, believing in yourself to the level that you can have it now, what it is I truly deserve, what it is I truly desire. But yes, for me, it's all about belief. If there's a vibrational place that exists, it exists now, whether we know it or not, whether we're conscious of it or not. It's there where everything is just magnificent and marvelous. And we just have to awaken ourselves to be able to perceive that particular reality.
Okay, different focus on this. What if your passion, we're talking about things that you can be passionate about that you can maybe make a living at. But what if your passion is something that is, I don't want to say intangible, but there is not any monetary opportunities. Let's say your passion is rock climbing or parachuting. I mean, it's, you can become a parachuting instructor, but maybe that's really not your passion. Maybe you don't like people. Maybe you just like parachuting. Any thoughts for people that have these passions that, that is what it is, but there's the reality of, we need to eat and pay rent and short of getting a sugar daddy or sugar mama, I don't know how else you would make that work. Uh-oh, I'm just talking away and I totally lost Keith. I guess you got tired of that one. All right, hold on. We're dialing him real quick.
I must have fell into a wormhole. That has never happened to me before.
Well, and I'm just talking away, and I asked a question, and it was like nothing, and I'm like, well, okay, the question wasn't that hard. And then I looked at the switchboard.
What was the question again?
Okay, so the question was, what about people who have a passion where there's not, I'm going to say, opportunities for them to make money? So let's say they, or they're not interested in doing it as a career. Let's say they like parachuting, or they like rock climbing, or,
Sure.
They like these things that are kind of intangible. But we
that's
have to have money.
That's a two-part answer for me. I think that, one, it's a fantastic opportunity, probably the most prime opportunity. If you're doing something that doesn't exist, you become the pioneer because you're going to be the first and the best one at it. Fantastic opportunity. But the other answer would be kind of what we mentioned a little earlier was, what about those who need jobs to sustain their passion? So if you love parachuting and you're doing that every weekend as long as the weather is favorable, you no longer really see that job as this job that you hate. You're seeing it from the place of, this is what I'm using as the means to my passion.
It supports your habit.
Yeah. Your passionate habit, right. And we all have them. Some people are passionate about being unhappy, and I know people who are happy being miserable. It's all passion. So, I guess the barometer, the task becomes, Do you want to be completely joyful? Or do you want to feel like you're just dissolving into, to depression, just falling into depression? But it's all habits. We all do what we want. We all do what we are passionate about regardless. I guess what my path is about is being conscious of what it is you're truly wanting to do with your life.
You think there are people that are actually passionate about being unhappy or miserable or depressed?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. And I don't mean happy. I meant that sarcastically. I didn't mean like they're actually gleeful about being depressed. I know people who are truly passionate about being angry.
Oh, because they're just so involved in the energy of it?
Yes. Hating someone and loving someone is somewhat the same kind of passion. It's still passion. But I have some musician friends, and when I show up to the gig and I say, hello, how you doing? And they start grumbling immediately. They can't wait for you to ask that question so they can start grumbling and being grumpy and start pouring all this stuff out at you. And it's just so, it pulls you down. And it can be a challenge to keep your balance, to keep your center when you surround yourself with people who are just really, really deteriorating right in front of you. But that's all they know, and you can offer kind words, you can offer kind gestures, and you can just being yourself around them if you represent a high vibration aggravates the living out of them. They can't be around you because it just brings up all this stuff. But I do know people who are passionate about being miserable.
Well, now that you bring up that example, it makes me think of a girlfriend of mine. I mean, I haven't seen her in years. I want to say thank God, even though I love her to death. But you would call her up and you would ask the stupid question, how are you?
Oh.
45 minutes later, when you could maybe sort of get a word in after you wash the dishes, vacuum the house, clean the car, walk the dog, and then come back in the house and pick up the phone, and they're still going. God.
It's work. It's absolute work being a person's friend who responds from this platform. It's work, and it's arduous work. And it's like, one, how do you find your place to conversate? Two, how do you find your place just to be? Do you say, oh, I understand? Is that me saying I understand, open up the door for them to start more dialogue? It's a very, very awkward place for me.
Mm-hmm.
I love them all the same, but it doesn't mean I have to support you and be around you in your issues.
Well, and I'll share this with you and the listener. I've learned that if you strengthen your aura, and put a little layer of protection, I like to do the talk to the hand energy. I love this because it works so good. Especially if you're on the phone, because then they can't see you doing it. And you literally in your mind say, talk to the hand and put your hand out, because that puts your hand right at the edge of your auric field, because it's your friend, and so you're inviting their energy in. And once you sit there and go, I don't want your energy in my space anymore, many times, you should try this, Keith, it'll shut them up.
Yeah. I have different techniques, but I will try that one in particular. I will say, as much as I love you, will you please just go away or be quiet? That's
but it's not even saying it. But it's not even saying anything to them. It is a matter of just strengthening that field, because then their energy reflects back to them, and it just knocks them back into the moment, and they stop.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it can be really powerful, and then I always laugh.
And I actually don't verbalize this. This is sort of something I'm saying internally. But I'm going to try that as a double dose. I'm going to try the hand with a couple affirmations or suggestions, telepathic suggestions.
Have you ever experienced someone who was passionless, that is beyond not knowing what their passion is? I mean, is it possible to be passionless?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people who I would term as living dead. They're existing. They're not alive. They're just going through the motions of eating, using the restroom, having sex with their partner, waking up and going to a job, and they come back and they just repeat this insane cycle. I've seen it, and I know a lot of people like that. And it's heart-wrenching. It makes me sad to see one who doesn't even have enough drive just to exist. They have no passion whatsoever about anything, towards anything.
And is it because they were never taught to experience passion? Is it because they're just unmotivated? You know, that there's a lazy element to it? You know, is there...
There could be so many variables. You know, when I was in that relationship, I keep going back to that because it's such a significant time for me. And as I share with you in the listening audience, it's for me, it's a catalyst to be very impactful. When this girl of 10 years departed, for 2 years, I was the person you just described. I didn't care. I was lost. I was in the abyss. It was despair. I was depressed. But I was fortunate to ask a prayer very sincerely to God, saying, I need to hear your voice. And my sincerity was such that it manifested very shortly, hence the writing of the Divine Principle. But if I never thought to myself for once to ask that question the way I did, because I was humbled, I was on my knees, I would, some people could still be in that place. And I know of some people who are still in that depressed, why bother? Nothing's ever going to change place. But I think there are many different variables. Losing a child, God forbid, for anyone, would put you in such a place, or could put you in such a place. How you were raised, to doubt everything, to believe in nothing.
Most of all yourself.
Yeah, people all the time say that when you believe in God, things happen. Well, I'm sorry to tell you, you have to believe in yourself before you believe in God, because if God lives in you, you have to go through yourself to get there. So it is enough to believe in yourself, because in so doing, God steps to the front, and then you and God become synonymous. There is no difference between you and the divine. You, as your highest self, is divine. And when a person begins to believe that, your belief in yourself and the divine become the same belief.
But, and I'm going to get a little technical here, if you believe in God mentally, but not in your heart, you're never going to experience it. I mean, I could see where, if you believe in God, from a heart level, that you could access that energy and that information, just like believing in yourself, or in a parallel kind of way. But there are a lot of people that believe in God, but it's just this mental thing. It's not a soul belief.
Yeah. They believe in the idea. There are three categories. There are people who believe in God. There are people who believe in God. There are people who believe in God and don't care about, there are people who don't believe in God. There are people who believe in God and don't care anything about doing any of the work to integrate that as an experience. And there are those who are passionate about it. But there is also a fourth, and I've seen this. There are people who are atheists who do not believe in God whatsoever. I'm an atheist when it comes to believing in the old man who lives upstairs. I'm atheist in that regard. But I'm passionate about the being, the consciousness, the energy, the river of life that spiritualists call God, the highest consciousness, the level of absolute love. I'm not a believer, I'm an absolute knower in that regard. But I have seen people who don't believe in any of that, who are more aligned with truth and God than people who believe in God emphatically and go to church as a ritual. I've seen this often. People who, they don't believe in any of it, but they're so congruent with passion, the heart, kindness, love, they don't even know that they're integrating divine attributes. Mm-hmm. And their life really, really works for them, because it's not a dialogue that you're having in your head. It's about what you're bringing through your heart as an expression in your life. And some people don't need that belief in their head to validate that they are living their passion, that they are actually living God, and God is working through them. God doesn't care, in my opinion, God doesn't care about any of that. It's not concerned how you call, as long as you call.
You know, but there's living in the, I'm going to say, experience, living in the now, where, you know, I am God, God is me, you know, and so do you really need to have God? And then there's, you know, God, that guy, the guy with the white hair and the lightning bolts and stuff. You know, that there are so many people that believe in this character that is just so separate from who we are as individuals.
Yes. And that is where I would say most people always fall short of fulfillment. Not only self-fulfillment, just in form of having bliss reside in your what you know as you, but fulfillment as far as what you are trying to achieve in life. Because you cannot separate yourself from God. You can't. It's actually an impossible feat. If I was to ask someone, please point to yourself, you know, they point to their chest. You don't point to your head. And if I ask you to point to where God dwells, then they point to your chest. Well, now you're in a quandary because you cannot separate yourself from the God self that you just pointed to. So it's really yourself. And so having a belief in yourself is what will bring that fulfillment. You know, you may not require the outside world to validate you in a form of a job or a task or something to do to keep you busy or satisfied. It may just be a feeling, a place inside that you just want to dwell in for the rest of your days. But you will never be able to do that as long as you are in your head. You have to begin to live and fall into that heart space. That's where all the gifts, all the favors, all the joy, all the peace, all the abundance is. It's in that magical place that you know as you. It's the real you.
There is a quote that came out of this Kabbalah book that I read years ago, and it talks about Tefrith, which correlates with the fourth chakra, the heart center. And it says that Tefrith is the reflection of God's will in the hearts of man. And so when we want to know what God's will is, we need to go into our heart, because that's where God will direct us and guide us. And I just love that
Beautiful.
image.
Yeah. Yeah, because we can only guess with our limited capacity, thinking modules, this thing we call a head. The consciousness there can never know the truth of spirit. The ego can never shake hands with spirit, ever. It just can't expand itself to take it in. It can't. So the only place that we can truly understand the higher language is by dwelling in the heart, because the dwelling of the heart is actually the temple where God lives. So absolutely, it's a beautiful metaphor. Love it.
Okay, so we have about 15 more minutes left. I don't know, let me ask this. So do you have any new projects coming up, new books, new videos,
Yeah, wonderful.
anything?
I do. Do What You Love. You can find the movie at dowhatyoulovethemovie.com. The trailer's there. The movie's there. The movie's $5. It's basically using my life as an example. Kick in your pants, give you a kickstart saying, look, you too can go out and do this. Feel free to check it out. You can go to, I have this new project called Do What You Love Forever course. It's taking all of my work and putting into this nice, tight bundle so people can find those tools that they can use so that they too can begin to move into their passion. You can find that at thedivineprinciple.us. I have my children's book series I started modeled after my son, Eden Sky. So the book is called Eden Sky Wonders Why. You can get that at Amazon. And, of course, The Divine Principle and the workbooks you could find at Amazon.com as well. The Divine Principle, Anchoring Heaven on Earth. I'm actually now, Dr. Rita, starting a book about my journey to India to see an avatar by the name of Satya Sai Baba. I was there for 2 weeks. Make a very long story short. When I discovered this person was actually on the planet and found out he was truly a divine descent, I started reading every book I can get my hands on by people who went over there to disprove that. Scientists, doctors, people who go over there to debunk this, and they're the ones coming back writing these books. Making the long story short, he started visiting me in sleep, and one night I came to a state of full-blown awareness, and I'm standing by a river, and Sai Baba taps me on the knee and telepathically says, Keith, I want you to come to India to see me. And, of course, I kick into the human logic. When will I go? How will I get the money? Where, all these logical thoughts. And he says, Keith, let all this go. I got it. So the next morning I go into the same mode, same dynamic, wondered how will I get there and all this stuff. And I realized, wow, I just got finished reading a book that Sai Baba has said repeatedly, when I come to you in a dream, you are not dreaming. I am truly present. So I let that be so. And a week and a half later, I get a phone call from someone I have never met in my life. Say, hi, Keith, my name is Debbie. We have a mutual friend. I hear you want to go to India. Is this true? I said, this is absolutely true. She goes, I'm a flight attendant. I have some companion passes for the year that are about to expire. And I would really hate that, knowing that you would love to go to India. Can I offer you a round-trip first-class ticket? And so I go to India to experience the towering divinity of this little man. And I was there for 2 weeks. I had the most phenomenal experience. I logged the entire thing into tape recorder. It's 2 o'clock today and the overcast, and the weather is this and it's this temperature, and I logged the entire experience and all the miracles I was blessed and fortunate to experience. And not only miracles on the outside, because Sai Baba has the ability to manifest things, objects at will, but the miracle of the expansion that I was fortunate enough to have by being in the presence of this avatar. So I'm working on the book now, and the working title is called Stoking the Fire Within, about my experience with Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba.
We were talking about people projecting energy, negative energy, positive energy, the idea of the dog picking up energy. What was it like just being in his presence, not in conversation, not in meditation, but just being in the same room with him?
Wow. Reading all these books, I could literally feel the presence of this avatar in my house. There were some magical things that literally manifested in my house. Make a long answer short, after reading all these books and knowing that, and from my experience, and not by the testimonies of other people saying, this man is God, he can create objects at will, but from the information that came through his discourses, things that he said out of his mouth, touched me in such a place, and I'm getting emotional, touched me in such a place. I knew that this was God walking on earth. So when I get there with all this excitement, all this anticipation, all this fire, now keep in mind, I'm traveling from Memphis, Tennessee to South India for 36 hours on a plane for 3 days. So when I get to the ashram, the guy at the orientation office says, you need to go down there and turn left here, and you Sai Baba come out, you must want to see. So I'm running down there full speed. He says, leave your bags here, they're fine. And I'm jetting down this street. I walk into the mandar, the temple, and I'm looking up at the ceiling, which is made of absolute solid gold. And so you hear this Hindu music, and all of a sudden the music stops. And so I told myself, today I'm not going into spiritual process mode. Today, to answer your question directly, I'm just going to witness. I'm just going to see what it feels like to see. And the music stops, and everybody's eyes go to the gate on the west. And out comes this little man, 5'1", with orange robe on that he's known for wearing, and this bushy, big black hair. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, my God, that's Sai Baba. I'm here. This is really happening, Keith. This is really happening. Yes, he came to you and gave you a ticket through someone. I went there. It was said that you should get shots, be inoculated for all the diseases that you're susceptible to. I said, this is a bunch of hooey. I'm not going there to get sick. This avatar didn't invite me to come to India to pay for my ticket, nor did I go
for me to get sick.
Go there with someone. For me to go there to be attacked in a foreign country to get sick. I didn't buy into that fear-based stuff at all. But to answer your question, when this person, avatar, walks out, Dr. Rita, I'm telling you, as your brother, the energy of the consciousness of everyone who sees him in that way shoots through the roof to a level that is truly heaven. And when he begins to turn his hand and manifest things, there is something inside that happens, truly. There was this room that's called Supabartum. It's called Waking Up the Divine. And you get there at 4:30 in the morning, you go into meditation, and you sing these songs, these bhajans. And it's a little room that sits about 40 people, and that's in the middle of this mandar. And you have 30-plus, sometimes on a festival day, 250, 300,000 people sitting in this temple, and they're all channeling the word Om into the heart of this Supabartum room, which is 40 people. And it's all being funneled like this huge cosmic tuning fork. And you can feel and hear, the only way I can describe it is the breath of God as it moves through you. And you begin to lose awareness of your physical self. It's like you are literally your body's being melted off of your being. It's truly a phenomenal experience. That's how it feels when this divinity, this divine man walks out. I have no other way to describe it, but just beautiful, powerful. I got back home from my journey, and I went to a spiritual intuitive, just truly for the novelty sake of it, because someone said, hey, let's go get a reading. And as I'm standing there with someone who is getting reading, and the person says, oh, my God, I'm sorry, mister, but you have to leave my shop. I said, pardon me? She says, you are literally blinding me. She goes, where did you go? So I'm still processing. This was in 2000, the year 2000. I'm still processing this information. I could have stayed just a week, because staying 2 weeks, I was so informationally pregnant. It was really starting to get uncomfortable, like eating an overage of cheesecake. It was truly that rich for me. Spiritual cheesecake. Go see an avatar.
I don't know. I just kind of get the impression that you needed to get so full because it would put you into a different processing place.
Absolutely. Oh, and while I can, Dr. Reed, I would love to say, listening audience, if you want to join, the movie's called Do What You Love, right? So if you want to join the Do What You Love movement, go to facebook.com/ let me call this up. Someone just chimed in on me. Facebook.com/ the Do What You Love Worldwide Movement. Facebook.com the Do What You Love Worldwide Movement. What I'm starting here is a network, a system to where everyone creates a profile. You say what it is that you love in your profile. You say how long you've been doing this, and you get into this system, and you may be a plumber or whatever it is you do. You type into the system what you want to do. Someone is looking for you. Believe me, someone is looking for a musician to play at their wedding. They are. Or they're looking for the person to do that yard work. Believe this, I met a lady recently who wants, and she's advertising herself, to come to your house to pull weeds. That is truly her passion. She is passionate about pulling weeds. So I'm creating this network. So if you would go to facebook.com/ the Do What You Love Worldwide Movement, very shortly on my wall, hi, my name is John Doe. My passion is blah, blah, blah. I will send you a bundle of freebies, and we'll get you plugged into the system so that we can hopefully get enough people that we can get this thing rolling.
How fun.
Yeah, we can possibly do away with the money. Money's not bad. Money's gorgeous. It's an expression of freedom. I love it. But I think the idea I have will bring people closer together. It gets you more involved in your passion. I still play music for money, But it would be wonderful if we can create a system where everybody's just involved, being happy and blissful.
Well, that was one of the things about the whole barter system, was that it was me connecting with you and you connecting with you, or there, and there were connections happening. It wasn't just you're throwing down a piece of paper.
Right. It keeps things in, the quality of work. I used to be a painter. Most musicians are. If there's any musicians out there, you're going, I know what he's talking about.
You mean
I
like
used
a
to
house
be a painter.
painter?
No, yes. And I was working for an apartment complex. I loathed it. So I really didn't care about my work, so the lines are crooked. So therefore, my work reflects it. I will never get a raise. And so when I became a musician, it's like, wow, I really love this. So I became very, very popular, to use a word, and very well known in a city that I was not even born in, because I made my shift into becoming a musician in Memphis when I'm from South Louisiana, and now I am sought out throughout the city. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to motivate people out there to move into your passion, because when you begin to live your passion in a very serious way, you become better at it than anybody else who's dabbling, believe me. And so you being sought out becomes, it's there. And, of course, because you're so good at it, your worth, your dollar value elevates, and you become the person they are looking for.
Well, and it's also you're sending out that good positive vibe that attracts people.
That's right.
It's like you have that little flashlight on the top of your head or spotlight going, woo-hoo, here I am. Pick me.
The likable factor kicks in. There are musicians around the city who truly, this is not a judgment, who are not the caliber of a lot of other musicians. But their likability is just truly off the charts, and people walk in to the level that other musicians who are truly, truly, truly talented and the caliber of musicians that most people aspire to are just not seeing that kind of result. Mm-hmm. So so it's a double win when you not only good at what you do, but the energy that comes forth from you because you're passionate about what you're putting out there.
And I think everybody can relate to that musician example. I'm sure everybody has gone to a bar that had a cover band, and they're kind of sucky, but you have a great time and you love them because you have a great time. So anyway, the music's going to come up here in a second. Keith, it is always a pleasure talking to you and having you on the show because you're just so much fun. And, this is just really weird. This past week, I saw this show about Memphis and the street with all the bars and restaurants on it. They were talking about that. And what's the name of that street?
It's called Beale Street. Bourbon Street is the birth of the jazz in New Orleans. Beale Street is the birth of the blues in Memphis. Elvis, Carl Perkins, B.B. King. And a lot of the Do What You Love movie is filmed on Beale Street.
So I'm just going to have to come down there and check it out, come hear you play. That would be
Let
fun.
me know. We'll have a blast, always.
Okay. All right, well, I'm going to let you go. That's Keith Blanchard. His webpage is the DoWhatYouLoveTheMovie.com or TheDivinePrinciple.us or YanoCenterOfLight.com. Next week, we have two guests. We have Guion Quasar talking about strange sea mysteries and James O'Con talking about the lost technology of the Maya. So until next week, I'm Dr. Rita Louise. This is Just Energy Radio. Be blessed.
Join host Dr. Rita Louise each